I'm John Bowler. I'm from BAPIA, and today we've got a webinar from Fraser Stevenson of EasyPop. He's going to show you their balloon exploder system. I won't say too much more because I don't know that much about it. I'll leave it up to Fraser. So if you have any questions as you go through, just type them in, and if they're pertinent at that time, we'll answer them. If not, we'll hold them till the end or till there's a good point at which it's reasonable to answer them. So just type your questions in. And we will go through them. Okay, I will pass you over to Fraser now. Enjoy it, and Fraser Stevenson, it's all yours.
Right, thanks, John. First off, I'll do a little intro video, which will tell you a bit about EasyPop, how it works. You'll see it in practical terms. And then what we'll do is go into more detail about the product. I'll show you a couple of the training videos about how you do certain things with it. Okay, so that was a kind of overview of the product video. Did everybody manage to see that? If you can, somebody can type and tell me whether they saw it or not. Okay, excellent. Thanks, Amy. So this is a kit. This is EasyPop. Comes in a handy carrying case, and inside, if I open it up, that's the contents of the kit. So what you get is the instruction manual over here. The kit comes as standard with 3 receivers, although BAPIA members get an extra receiver free. Also comes with 10 EasyPop poppers and cables to connect to the receivers. Right. I'll just put that in and aside, and I'll pull up a short presentation. So I'll just run through the slides on here. It gives you a bit more detailed information about EasyPop. And if anybody's got any, oh, you can't hear me here. No. Yeah.
I can hear you, Fraser.
Right, okay. I don't know what the problem is, Helen. Maybe the volume at your end, maybe. I'm a little quiet. Okay, is that better, Ted? You hear me, Ted? Yes, no, maybe. Yes, okay, good, right, we'll carry on then. Cool, okay, so EasyPop. It's a safe, simple, reliable way to pop balloons, and it's wireless. That's the key to this, is wireless. It's not infrared, it's not direct line of sight, it's not lots and lots of cables. It is a wireless system. On the wireless side, it means that we have CE and FCC approval. Now, that's quite important because that means that pretty much anywhere in the world, you can use EasyPop system. Doesn't require any special licensing. It's a license exempt frequency that the system operates on. And I'll touch a little bit just on the wireless side. One of the questions we get asked is, how secure is it? It is not a general broadcast wireless. It is digitally encoded, and the digital encoding means that each transmitter is different. And that's key, because we'll come back to that a little bit later on, but each transmitter is different, and it makes it virtually impossible for you to accidentally trigger the system because of how it works. All right. So we'll go on to the next slide. How did EasyPop come about? Basically, we had some personal experience. We spoke to people in the industry. We got feedback from them. But in the old days, you could pop balloons using a pin on a stick. Rachel, I'll come to that. Rachel asked the question about balloon size, but we'll come to that later on. Good question. You could pop a balloon using a pin on a stick, or you could use squibs. Squibs are electronic matches, e-matches, igniters. They're known as different names. All right. So the first method, pin on a stick, we've all seen it, or most of you will have seen it. We've all used it, maybe, in the past. But the pin on the stick was sometimes wrapped in coloured ribbon to try and disguise it. I've seen that. At the end of the day, it is still a pin on a stick. And also, it wasn't the first time that I've seen somebody being captured in that couple special moment in their first dance, when the photographer takes a picture and in the background there is somebody standing with a pin on a stick. So it's not a good thing. Not a good thing. More recently, people then started using squibs, electric matches. As I said, the names are commonplace. It uses a length of wire, uses a battery, and requires a rudimental knowledge of electrical circuitry. Now, for some people, that's not a challenge. For other people, it makes them a bit apprehensive. Popping multiple balloons requires a more advanced understanding. So if you wanted to pop 2, 3, 4, 5 balloons all at the same time, you were getting into more sophisticated wiring, larger capacity battery. It just basically became more complicated. And ultimately, squibs are pyrotechnics. They use a naked flame. It's an electronic match, and a lot of venues were uneasy about using that. And indeed, in a lot of countries, the use of squibs is very difficult, if not outlawed, without special training and special licenses. I think Holland is really strict about using squibs in those kind of scenarios. All right. So, how does EasyPop work? What is the basis of the system? On the screen there, you can see the transmitter, and I have one of them here. Okay, that's the actual size of it. It looks a lot bigger on the screen, but that's the actual size of it. And you'll see there's 1 to 8 buttons plus a delay and an all. You may be able to see that at the top of the screen or not. Just give me a wee second while I just take my notes. I don't want to miss out on it. Okay. And on the side of it, you can see that you've got a switch, and I'll point it out here. Tiny wee switch on the side, just sticks out slightly. It's big enough that I can turn it on quite easily with my finger, but it's not that big that if I put it in my pocket, I can accidentally switch it on. That's quite important. You can also see on the transmitter as well, I've got it switched on just now, and if I press the button, you should see a red light. Can everybody see that? Yes? Yeah, maybe. Hopefully. But if I slide it off, what you can't see on the camera is it's a very dim light. So it actually tells us that there's a battery in the unit, but it's not activated. All right, so if I turn it back on and press the button, up it comes. Now, I'll speak a little bit about the groups. We call them groups, and the buttons numbered 1 through to 8. That is a group of receivers that you can trigger. And because of the way the system works, you can have an unlimited, and I do literally mean unlimited, number of receivers assigned to each group. and there's a short training video that shows you how easy it is to do that. But I could have anything from, sorry about that. I could have any number of receivers from 1 to literally 1,000 assigned to one group, and then the same again on another group, and another group, and another group, etc., all the way up to 8 groups. So we can control up to 8 different groups of balloons. Okay? Any questions regarding groups? Because it's quite important that people understand the meaning of that, because it becomes relevant as we go through the presentation. Obviously, everybody does. What about you, Teddy? Do you understand groups? No. Okay, I'll carry on. We'll work on the assumption that everybody understands the groups. All right, okay. Sorry, I missed this. My screen. Okay, right, we'll try and do a bit of catch up on that. So let's look at a standard configuration, or this is as the kit would normally come. So we've got one transmitter, we've got 3 receivers. Each of the wireless receivers take a 9-volt battery. Transmitter takes a 12-volt battery. Now, it's worth mentioning there's 2 different battery types that get used in the transmitters, or can be used, 2 different sizes. There's a 1.5 volt and a 12 volt. We use the 12 volt version. You can buy the 2 sizes at pretty much any shop, but there's 2 different voltages, 1.5 or 12. If you do need to replace a battery in the transmitter, you need to use the 12 volt version. Okay? The receivers, we recommend alkaline batteries, reasonable quality alkaline batteries, 9 volt standard battery available off the shelf. Right. Okay, so then we take our balloons. Now, this goes back to, I think it was maybe Amy's question. Somebody asked the question about balloon sizes. We've tested the EasyPop system on various balloon sizes, starting from 5-inch and going all the way up to 72-inch. We've tested it on pearlized finish, we've tested it on double skinned finish, and quite importantly, we've tested it on massively underinflated balloons. This is a big issue when we were speaking to people in the industry. A 36-inch latex balloon is great, but can't normally inflate a 36-inch latex balloon to 36 inches, because then you can't get it through the door of most venues. So it was really important for us that the solution we came up with could pop a 30-inch latex or a 36-inch latex inflated to 30 inch. And in fact, we've actually successfully tested a 36-inch latex inflated to 23 inches. So that's how massively underinflated that the balloon can be for it to pop. Right? No, somebody's asked me a question if the receivers are in the scale of the balloon. Well, maybe if it was a very, very small balloon, but no, that's the receiver, okay? Incidentally, I should have mentioned this earlier on. The LEDs on the front of the receiver, and I've just switched it on there, and you can see a wee green one. We've got 3 different LEDs on there. We've got a green one, which tells us we've got power. We've got a red one, which tells us that our battery is low. And we've got an amber LED, and you'll see that in the video. The amber LED tells us if we've connected the wiring properly. So if we don't see an amber LED on the unit here, it means we've not connected up the circuit properly. We've got a broken wire, or we've got a broken terminal or something somewhere. All right, so that's important. And also on the back, I'll position this there. You should be able to see it. This here is a loop, and it's a loop that's put in the plastic, and it's designed to take something like a 260Q or a cable tie or a hook or something. That's what you would use to secure the receiver near the balloon. So if it's on a ceiling mount, you could quite easily put a 260Q through there, put it onto your magnetic clip, stick it on the ceiling, or stick it on with a pin or a nail or a hook. Your other option is to make yourself a cradle using the latex balloons, but we feel that that's much simpler. Also, the antenna. We put an antenna on the system just in case. All of the field trials we've done, we've managed to successfully trigger the receivers from up to 100 meters without extending the antenna. And I know other people have commented about maybe doing the antenna a little bit different, and maybe we'll look at that, but don't worry too much about taking the antenna and extending it. We've done tests and it seems to work fine. All right. So next thing we do is we connect our short piece of wire. Now, what I'll do is get one here to show you. Okay. This is one of the cables that comes with the kit. The cable's 1.2 meters long. You can extend this cable. It's just normal bell wire. There's nothing fancy about it. Although the connector on the end is a little bit special. That's used to connect onto the EasyPop popper. But this cable you can extend up to 4.5 meters is where we've successfully done it. Did you say the receiver has to be on the ceiling near the balloon? It doesn't have to be. I hope that the answer to that question are covered by saying that the receiver can be up to 4.5 meters away from the balloon. We don't recommend any more than that. So we do with voltage drops and things like that. So up to 4.5 meters. But the standard cable length it comes with is 1.2 meters, which for most situations should be good enough to cover it. Okay. So what I'll show you here is this is the end of the cable. I'll grab myself one of the EasyPop poppers. Now, I don't know whether you can see that there. Yeah, that's the EasyPop popper. And you'll see there's two small pins on the back of it. All I simply do is connect those pins into the connector, and that's it. Now, I don't know if you picked up on the video, when you attach this to the balloon, we recommend attaching it across this way with sticky tape. You can use sellotape, you can use balloon tape if you want. Don't use something like duct tape or something that's too wide, because what we actually need is we need this area here covered, right, from there to there, because what we're trying to do is create a tear in the balloon. When you activate the EasyPop popper, what you do is rip the balloon. In exactly the same way, well, you've all seen it. If you stick a pin into the neck of a balloon, chances are you'll deflate it. But if you take a blade and cut the side of the balloon, then the balloon will burst. And that's one of the reasons why we're able to burst massively underinflated balloons, is because the way you attach this. Also, I'll speak a little bit about attaching it. We normally recommend that you do not attach this any closer than probably about 10 centimeters to the neck of the balloon. So anywhere outside of that 10 centimeter distance from the neck of the balloon should be fine. We've done tests on it again on underinflated balloons, overinflated balloons. Anywhere out with that 10 centimeter area from the neck of the balloon, we'll pop it. All right. Also, once you've attached it onto the balloon, we normally recommend that you run down the side and you just simply put a loop like that around the neck of the balloon, and that helps keep the cable in place, so that basically any strain you have when you pull the cable, or if the balloon's getting moved, will be kept at the neck of the balloon. It won't pull this away from the balloon. All right, that's the last thing you want. When it's up in the ceiling, you don't want this coming off. So do a little loop and just wrap it around the neck. All right, everybody got that? Cool. The other end of the cable is simply two wires, and I'll just show you here. I just take the ends off, strip the wires apart, and I take my receiver and put the two wires in. Now, this was covered in the video, and you can see this online. And I don't know if you see there now. Yeah, right. You should be able to see now we've got an orange and a green light. That means I've connected it properly. If I disconnect the popper in the end, the orange light disappears. Simple. If you don't have the orange light on, you've not connected it properly. If you do have the orange light on, it's connected and it's good to go. I could now leave this for up to 12 hours. And at any point in that 12 hours, I can press a button on the transmitter and the balloon will pop. All right. So I'll put that aside for a moment, and then we'll just carry on with the next slide, and that's the final slide. Okay, 100 meters is the distance, the up to 100 meters. Now, a lot depends on the structure of the building. Some buildings that have a lot of metal in them can reduce that range. Obviously, if you were doing it outside, it's not an issue. I mean, there's nothing really to obscure the signal. We've tested it further than 100 meters, but we're comfortable with saying up to 100 meters. That's not to say it won't do 110 or 120, but we are comfortable with 100 meters on that. All right. And going back to this again, each transmitter is different. So don't worry too much if you've got two kits and you're using them in the same venue, but you're using them in different rooms or at different locations. They won't interfere with each other. What you have to do is pair the receiver to the transmitter, and I'll show you a short video on how that's done. All right. So what I will do now is you have to use blue balloons. Somebody's asked me if I have to use blue balloons. No, you can use any color of balloons, whatever is your thing. Okay. So I'll load up this next video. Just get me a little second. Okay. First video I'm going to show you is what those additional two buttons are at the top of the transmitter. I'll keep the video running here on the side. So the two buttons at the top, one says all, one says delay. Okay, so what we've got is the three receivers, and we're going to check receiver 1's allocated, receiver 2. Now, that's a point on here. When you don't have any cables connected, if you press the button on the transmitter, it shows you the receivers are working. So I press the all button there, and it activates all the receivers. It doesn't matter what the identity is of that receiver or what group that receiver belongs to. As long as that receiver is paired to the transmitter, when you press the all button, it will activate. I'll just play that video again, just so that you can see that. So if we watch again, so here we're going to test group 1, group 2, and group 3. So there's the orange light we're on group 1, 2, 3. Press the all button. But how does that work in reality? So I'll just load up another video for you. And this video shows you 3 balloons, 3 receivers, and they all pop. I'll show you that again. Play it again for you. Okay. So I wasn't worried about, switch the video back on. Okay, so we weren't worried about the identity of the receivers. We weren't worried about what group they had been programmed to. What we simply did was press the all button, and any receivers which are paired to the transmitter will pop. All right, everybody happy with that? Yeah. Okay. Now what we'll do is I'll speak about the delay popping. Now, on the transmitter, you may have noticed underneath each button there's a little bit of white writing. You might have seen it on the presentation. You'll certainly see it on the image on the website. The white writing underneath each one of these buttons is the delay period between popping. Now, what that means is, let's say we had 8 groups of balloons, and let's say within each one of those groups of balloons we had 10. So we've got 80 balloons in total. So I've got 80 receivers. I've got 8 groups. 10 receivers within each group. But supposing rather than popping all of the balloons at the same time, I wanted to pop the balloons one group after another. So I wanted to pop them in groups of 10, but I didn't want to press the buttons 1 through to 8 because I wanted it to be precise. I wanted the timing to be exactly right when I pressed the button. So we created a function on the transmitter and on the receivers called a delay function. And that delay time can be set from anywhere from 0.2 to 1.6 seconds. And I'll show you a short video about how you set that delay time up. It's very simple to do, it's really straightforward. But the end effect is, if we press the delay button there, that says delay, what will happen is, in a real world scenario, the balloons would pop in groups, one after the other, which can be really spectacular. If you imagine doing a big venue and you had maybe 8 or 16 or 32 balloons spread around the venue, but you didn't want them all to pop at the same time, you could tell the system to pop them a second between each group. All right, so I'll show you the video on how you set up the delay. So if you're on an iPad, I think you need to switch to the video so you can see that. But I'll talk through it. So the first thing you need to remember is make sure there's no balloons connected. That's quite important because part of the programming requires that you activate the receivers, and if you do that with balloons connected, you'll pop. So I'm checking here. You see 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we've got the 3 orange lights come on. Press and hold the delay button until green lights flash slowly, and then choose your delay time. Now, I'll run that again so you can see it. Alright. That's quite important. You press and hold the delay button, and the green lights will start to flash, but then they flash slowly. Once they flash slowly, you choose the time for the appropriate. And again, it's important that you make sure you've got group 1, group 2, group 3. Press and hold the delay button. Now you see the green lights flash slowly, and then you choose the time that you want. It's now programmed. So now when you press the delay button, as I said, that delay time can be set from anywhere from 0.2 to 1.6 seconds, and you can have up to 8 different groups of balloons. Okay, now, anybody get any questions on that, on the delay popping? No? Cool. Okay, excellent. So, how does that work in the real world? What I'm going to do is show you a video, and what we've done is we've set up one balloon on its own in group 1, and then we've set up another 2 balloons in group 2. Okay, so what the video will show you is first balloon will pop, and then 1 second later the other 2 balloons will pop, and hopefully that demonstrates, off of pressing just one button, how we can do a staggered balloon pop. Okay, I'll play it again. Here we go. And again, one more time. Hope. Will it play? No. Okay, so that is delay popping. You just press the button once, and then the time delay kicks in, and it pops the balloons in sequence. Bernie's lost the video. Sorry about that, Bernie. No, a question here. Rachel's asked the question: can you vary the delay between groups? No, you can. You can indirectly, and it's a little bit techy, but I'll do my best to make it simple. If the delay time between each balloon you programmed is 1 second, then what you could do is set your first receiver to trigger on group 1, but then set your second receiver to trigger on group 3. So what the system will do is it will introduce a 2-second delay between the first balloon popping and the second balloon popping. Okay, and then if you set your third balloon to group 4, then you would have a 1-second delay between your second balloon popping and your third balloon popping. You can't vary the times between individual groups, but effectively by missing out a group, you can increase the time between the balloons popping. The downside of doing that is instead of having 8 groups, you would only then have 7 that you could pop because you're missing one out. You're effectively taking one out of the system. I hope that made sense, Rachel. Maybe yes, maybe not. Right. Okay. So what I'll then show you is next thing I want to talk about, right, changing group identities. Now, I'll go back to my receiver here, and there is a video that will show you how to do this, but I'll show you on here. There's 3 LEDs, as I pointed out earlier, but we've also got a small hole in the front of the receiver. That is used for programming which group this receiver belongs to. Probably the easiest way to show you is to actually play the video. Right, I've turned the volume down. Hopefully you should be able to hear me over the video. So what we're going to do is show you on the video how to change identity. So once again, we've got 3 receivers, each one of them assigned to group 1, group 2 and group 3, and I'll just show you that operating. The orange light coming on. Again, I'll tell you no import orders connected. What we're going to do is change receiver 2 and receiver 3, and we change them to operate when we press button 1. That's matter. So what we do is put in a screwdriver to fix that, press button 1, and receiver 2 is now reprogrammed to work on. Now receiver 3 has been reprogrammed to operate on 1. I'll show you that again. So anything you do in terms of programming, always make sure there's no balloons connected. Okay, so we've got group 1, 2, 3, and we'll reprogram again. Screwdriver, all junior screwdriver. Green light's flashing, press button 1, and it's now programmed. Light flashing, press button 1, and again it's now programmed group 1. So those 3 receivers now are programmed to work on group 1. Apart from the bits associated with being able to reprogram groups, how many receivers can you have in each group? Teddy is asking. How many receivers do you want to have in each group? That's more of the question. Unlimited number of receivers you can have. As many receivers as you want to buy, Because it's wireless, because it's non-directional, I could surround myself with 1,000 wireless receivers, and when I press the button, all 1,000 of them will trigger. It's that simple. So if I had 1,000 receivers on group 1, 1,000 on group 2, 1,000 on 3, 4, 5, from one tiny transmitter, I could trigger 8,000 balloons and make 8,000 balloons pop because I have got 8,000 receivers. Now, that's another point as well. The system, because we do not use pyrotechnics on the system, there is no naked flame, there's no pyro on there. We cannot pop more than one balloon from one receiver. We've had people asking if they could have 2, 3, 4, or 5, and it's not possible. There's technical limitations, and it's all to do with power and battery. At the early part of the presentation, I spoke about that, how to fire more squibs, you would need a bigger battery. You don't really want to be putting a car battery and attaching it to something like this. Then it does away with the benefit of having a small, compact wireless receiver. So one balloon per receiver. So if you wanted to pop 8,000 balloons, you would need 8,000 receivers. And I would love to sell you 8,000 receivers. Another thing that's important about this, with the ability to change which group this receiver belongs to, I also get the ability to change which transmitter the receiver will use. And that's quite important, because if you lose this, or say, you accidentally drive over it, or if the transmitter for whatever reason gets misplaced or lost, or you drop it in the river or a bucket of water, it doesn't mean that everything is thrown away. What it basically means is you can get a new transmitter, and your existing receivers you can repair to your new transmitter. It also means that if you lose one receiver or damage a receiver, you can buy another receiver and simply program that receiver to work with your existing transmitter. Okay? So we've had some clients that have actually bought maybe 4 or 5 receivers, they've bought 2 transmitters, and then it means they can actually go and do 2 jobs at the same time, but one job might be 1 balloon and another job might be 3 or 4 balloons. Okay, so you can actually mix and match the transmitters. But the key is you use that small hole in the front, put in the toothpick, and reprogram the receiver to work with the transmitter. And another thing to mention about the receivers, if I have an EasyPop popper connected to this, I cannot change the identity of this receiver, and that's deliberate. The last thing you want to do is, once you've wired everything up, the last thing you want to do is to be messing about with changing the identity of the receiver, because that could have no end of issues. So you can only change the identity of the receiver when the EasyPop popper is disconnected. All right. How heavy is the receiver with the battery in? Good question, Rachel. And we'll get you an answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. It's not, I mean, just now this has got a battery in it. In fact, I could ask somebody to go and weigh this for me, if somebody could. My assistant, Debbie McGee, will take it and weigh it for me. And I'll get you an answer to that, Rachel. But it's not heavy. Yes, someone's asked me, do I have people that do that? Yes, I do have people that do that. So, but yeah, that's really about it. That's EasyPop. That's how it works. Summarise: CE and FCC approved, license-free frequency it operates on, digitally encoded, so the transmitter receiver pair are secure, very difficult to interfere with it. Unlimited number of receivers can be paired to any one of the 8 available groups on the transmitter, and takes standard 9-volt batteries. The cable lengths can be extended from 1.2 to up to 4.5 meters using standard bell wire, And the only part of the system which is do you have to use a new battery with each system. We kind of normally recommend that you do use a new battery whenever you're going to do a balloon pop. 92 grams, I'm told, is the weight of the receiver, including the battery. So that answers Rachel's question. We would recommend changing the battery, and the simple reason for that is the cost of a reasonable alkaline battery is not a lot of money. The cost of the failure of doing the balloon pop for the client can be worth a hell of a lot more than the cost of the battery. And since you have no real idea, I mean, because there's no licensing needed on this, you could leave this transmitter with the client. For some people, that's a big risk and they don't want to do that. For others, they're quite happy. You could leave this transmitter with the client or the DJ or whatever, so you don't have to be there for that balloon pop to work. But you have no idea when they pop the balloon. So you might think they popped the balloon after an hour when you switched it on, or 2 hours, or it could be 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. You don't know. So rather than trying to save 50 pence on the cost of a battery, we would normally recommend changing it. And you can buy alkaline batteries reasonably cheap in bulk, and then use them for testing or use them for messing about with, or I don't know, give them to the kids for their handheld toys or whatever. So yeah, we wouldn't recommend reusing the battery. It's not worth the risk of I don't know, an £80 or £100, whatever figure you're charging the client for doing the balloon pop. And again, because there's no pyro, you do not have to ask the venue to switch off their smoke alarms. If you were using squibs, you would normally have to say to the venue to turn off the fire alarm system while the balloon gets popped. And also, people ask us questions like, is it okay to use confetti in the balloon, or can we put tulle in it, or can we do whatever? Yes, there is no naked flame. The system's designed that Easy Pop popper is hot enough for long enough to simply pop the balloon. It's not there long enough to do anything else. We've tested it with paper over the top of it, tissue paper. Nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens. All right. So, any other questions? Oh, Amy's typing a question for us. What about high float? Good question. Should have mentioned it. High float's a difficult thing. The whole concept of high float is it coats the inside of the balloon with an additional layer of basically like an elastomizer. It's there to kind of make the balloon more airtight. If anyone's tried to pop a balloon that's been coated with high float, they'll find that it's very difficult. So the bottom line is, no, we don't recommend the use of high float if you are going to be popping the balloon. Obviously, that has introduced a set of limitations when it comes to latex balloons and helium, and we understand the issues associated with that. But no, we don't recommend high float being used on it. Someone else says, can you attach the balloon directly, then attach the balloon so you don't need to find a separate place to hide the receiver? That's a question from Wendy. Can you simply attach the receiver to the balloon? You can, but the thing you need to consider on that, Wendy, is when a balloon pops, it can be quite a violent reaction. It's quite a violent effect, especially a 36-inch latex balloon. So whatever you've got round about there, it won't damage the Easy Pop receiver. What you need to make sure that the Easy Pop receiver is securely attached. You wouldn't attach it to the balloon, that's for sure, because when you pop that balloon, the structural integrity of that whole setup is just going to disappear, because that's the end goal. The end goal is to destroy the balloon and let the confetti or whatever come out of the balloon. So no, we wouldn't attach it directly to the balloon. You would attach it separately. Someone else, do you need new wires or poppers each time? That's Melody. You don't need new wires. The only consumable on the system is that, the small Easy Pop popper. they are one-time use. The process that we go through to make sure it pops a balloon effectively destroys that and renders it useless. So it is the only consumable that you need to use. Price-wise, if you've used squibs, they're a comparable price to squibs. You're looking at something maybe like I don't know, £1 or £1.10 or something like that. I mean, they're not massively expensive. When you compare it to the price of the job that you're going to be doing with it, it's a consumable that's not a big issue. Okay. I mean, attach the balloon with a 260Q to the receiver. Then the question, sorry, someone's asked the question, could you attach the balloon with a 260Q to the receiver? You could do, but then the question is, how do you attach the receiver to the ceiling? You could, in theory, use two 260Qs, use one to attach to the ceiling and use one to attach to the balloon, but our recommendation would certainly be attach the receiver separately. I mean, it can be underneath the balloon, but attach the receiver separately. All right. How close do the receivers have to be? The standard cable length is 1.2 meters. That's the standard cable length. You can extend up to 4.5 meters. How easy is it to attach a longer wire? It's as easy as taking a bit of terminal block or even a bit of sticky tape, attaching an extension wire onto the two open ends of the terminal and just covering them with insulating tape to make sure they don't short out on anything or short out with each other. You use bell wire, which is a solid drawn cable. It's a solid wire. You can buy that from pretty much any hardware store. And we have tested this up to 4.5 meters total length. So that's including the 1.2 meters that you get with the kit for each receiver, but you can attach a further, what is that, 3 point something meters? Mental arithmetic's out the window, 3.3 meters, I think. So you can, yes, thanks Teddy. Teddy told me 3.3 meters. So you can extend the cable length by adding another 3.3 meters onto that. So 4.5 meters is a pretty substantial distance between the balloon and the receiver. And that lets you attach the receiver maybe to a wall or somewhere that you're more comfortable getting access to it, and then the balloon can be in the middle of the ceiling. But as I said, the original concept is we can do it quite close. You know, you probably don't want to see the receiver hanging out in the middle of nowhere. Oh, incidentally as well, it's also a good idea to position the receiver in a location where you can see those LED lights. You can see the lights on the front. Because the kind of last thing you want to do is you don't want to go up a ladder, set everything up, come down the ladder, put it all away, and then say, did I switch it on? So it's a good idea to be able to see the light wherever you position it. And that's why we put the loop on the back, because we actually expected it to be mounted like this, so that you could stand underneath and see it. Incidentally, we've only been speaking about suspended balloons. I hope you saw in the product video or the opening video, we actually burst an air-filled balloon on a stack. And that's something that we've discussed with clients. That then gives you the opportunity of doing maybe an outdoor balloon release. So you could have balloons inside a bigger balloon, and the helium balloons, obviously it would mean that the 36-inch, whatever size balloon you choose, would need to be filled with helium. But you could do it on a stack, and at the moment when the bride and groom walk through the two pillars, you can pop the balloon, and that then does a small love heart balloon release or something similar. Or you could do it indoors. I know we were Sue mentioned in the past, Sue Bowler had mentioned in the past that that's a nice effect to do. We're doing non-high float helium filled balloons and having them pop and rise to the ceiling, and then over the course of the evening the balloons slowly start to float down in amongst the guests, which is a really nice touch. I think that would look brilliant. But that can be done off of a stack. All right. Any other questions? Oh, someone's typing a question here. See what comes through on it. Okay, how much is the system? $1 million question. It's not $1 million. The system, the starter kit, is £149 plus VAT. But it's £149 for the transmitter, 3 receivers, or if you're a BAPIA member, you would get 4 receivers. It comes with 10 EasyPop poppers, and it will come with 5 cables. So you've got 1 spare, one cable for each of your receivers, plus another spare. And bearing in mind that everything is reusable in that price, except for EasyPop popper. All right. No problem. And to put that kind of in context, we tried to pitch the system at a functionality and price point that basically you could do 1-2 balloon pops and recover a big chunk of the cost of the system, and then beyond that you're just basically making pure profit. How much are the EasyPop poppers? EasyPop poppers they sell for round about £1 each. You can buy them on our website, EasyPop Popping. Someone, my lovely assistant Debbie McGee's trying to give me a signal there. £9 for 10. £9 for 10 plus the VAT. Okay. How much are the EasyPop poppers? There you go. £9 for a pack of 10 of them plus the VAT. And in US dollars, somebody's done the calculation for me, and it's just under 200 US dollars. So yeah, and it can be used in the States, it can be used in Europe, it can be used in Australia. I don't think we've actually found a country yet that you couldn't use it in, because most countries will either accept FCC approval or CE approval. So yeah. Any other questions? Don't think so. Thought somebody else was going to type there. Yes, I think that's us. All right. So that's me. I'll hand back over to John. If there are any questions, you can reach us through the website, or you can reach us through BAPIA. I'm sure John will pass on any comments or inquiries or criticisms to us. So yeah. So I'll leave you be, and I'll hand you back to John.
Thank you very much, Fraser. That was very good. Really enjoyed it. Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed that. If anybody does have any questions, then please either direct them to Fraser or through us, and we'll get the answers for you. Just as a reminder, we have recorded this. Well, fingers crossed. Hopefully, we have recorded this, and we will post it probably on the website, but certainly on the YouTube channel, which will take me a little while because I'll need to edit it and make sure, take out anything that wasn't necessary. And we will let you know. We'll post on Facebook, etc., when it's available. Just a couple of questions coming through there. How do you order? If you go to the EasyPop Popping website, and you'll be able to order it directly with Fraser through there. I believe it was easypoppopping.com. Thank you very much to everybody for attending. Fraser's back.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, Alex, my lovely assistant, just put up there easypopping.com.
There you go, Easy Popping.
Payments online. What we'll also do is if you send us a separate email, then we can make sure that BAPIA members or people that have watched the presentation, BAPIA members, sorry, can get the extra receiver for free. So just order the 3 receivers, and we'll give you the extra one.
Okay, Melody, I think it actually is as easy as it looks. I think as much as Fraser is well versed in it, I have seen it, and I do think it is a very simple system to use. So give it a go. Okay, if well, give it a try, Melody, and see how you get on. I'm sure Fraser will give you all the support you need anyway.
Absolutely. If there's any issues or questions, pick up the phone or drop us an email or feedback through the website, and we will. What I'll do is I'll send John the links to the training videos, and maybe if John wants to post those links on the BAPIA site, then people can go and look at the training videos at their leisure.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Well, I'll probably post those on the YouTube channel along with a copy of this this video anyway.
Okay.
So, okay, Fraser. Thank you very much indeed, Fraser. Take care, and thank you to everybody for coming. And I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you again, hopefully, at the next webinar. Thanks ever so much, everybody. Bye bye.